So obviously shooter games are some of the most popular games on the market today, but a lot of them are pretty casual, and if you're anything like me, well, you're probably after a more intense experience. So the question is, what is there in the way of realistic military tactical shooters in 2019? Well guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and here's my top 5. Number 5, Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, which not only is awesome because it's set in the Vietnam War, it's also developed by Tripwire Interactive, creators of the classic Red Orchestra franchise. And one of the main reasons it actually makes this list, apart from the fact that it's a great game, is because it's pretty popular and it still has a lot of active servers pretty much all around the world. The reason for this, I think, is because, sure enough, it's got a hardcore damage model, but the character movement and the weapon physics are still fairly easy. And not just that, but unlike some of the games on this list, there's a lot less walking and a lot more action, and being that it's got a focus on asymmetric warfare, every match feels different. Number 4, Hell Let Loose, which is a bit of a surprising entry to this top 5 because not only is it the newest franchise on this list, it's also the debut game of Black Matter Studios. And so unlike every other game on this list, Hell Let Loose doesn't have a lineage of classic titles to build its reputation on, it's had to create its own. In a nutshell, it's a large-scale, large player cap milsim based on a World War II theme, but unlike a lot of similar games in that subcategory, it's actually not that slow and clunky. And so if you're new to tactical shooters, well, this is a good one to get into, because sure, it's challenging, but it's also not frustrating and it's not overly complex. Number 3, Squad, which is the spiritual successor of the classic tactical shooter Project Reality, which was originally a mod for Battlefield 2 that people are still playing to this day. But the thing is, by the mid-2010s, even though it still had a ton of active players, it was starting to feel a bit dated, and so some of its original dev team started a Kickstarter campaign to fund a new game. That project became Squad, which launched into early access in 2015 and featured the same large-scale, slow-paced milsim style gameplay. And ever since then, even though it's still actually in early access, it's been slowly evolving, with new features, weapons, vehicles, and even factions being added to the game with every update. Number 2, ARMA 3, which I think honestly is the ultimate sandbox shooter because it's a game where you can pretty much do anything you can imagine. And if you can't, well, the modding community has probably figured out a way to do it instead, or if you're really keen, you can even redesign how the game works in its built-in 3D editor. The other interesting thing about ARMA 3 is that it's probably as fun in PvE as it is in PvP because of Zeus mode, which is where a human player can control AI in real time against other players. And for that reason, it's really hard to describe what ARMA 3 actually is. It can be anything from a super large-scale milsim co-op game to a battle royale. It's whatever you want it to be, and more. But finally, coming in at number 1 is Insurgency Sandstorm, which I mean is pretty obvious if you're a fan of this channel, right? I really think it's the perfect combination of tactical shooter features. For example, it's realistic enough that you can still call it a milsim, but it's also focused enough on close quarters, fast-paced action that it's a great fit for competitive modes as well. Most importantly, I think the reason I like it the most is because it reminds me of a Battlefield game, except that it knows what it is and it takes itself much more seriously. This game doesn't hold your hand at all. You have to think about what you're doing or you'll get destroyed by the super fast time to kill, the suppression, and the crazy weapon recoil. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this top 5. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section below. And of course, let me know what your top 5 is. If you think I've left anything out, or if you think I've got the order wrong, make sure you leave a comment down below and tell me. As always though, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later and have a good one.